All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am back here with another 2024 AFL draft video. And in this one, I'm actually going to be doing something a little bit different and doing my mock draft, but with some trades that I've added in that have been rumored here and there. For example, in today's video, we're actually going to be implementing the widely rumored AFL trade that's been going around like absolute wildfire that says that Richmond are going to trade up pick 6 and 11 in the 2024 AFL draft for North Melbourne's pick number 2 and their future first round pick. Again, I have made a separate video discussing this whole entire massive rumored trade and why it makes sense and whatnot, so I'd highly recommend you guys going and checking that out on the channel. But yeah, we're going to be going over with picks 1 through 10, and hopefully in another video, if I, can be bothered, which I probably will. I don't really have much going on in my life besides eating Kentucky Fried Chicken and going to the Rainbow Unicorn or whatever it's called in GTA 5. But I wasn't going to make this video until I realized that doing this trade completely changes up the draft and how I think teams are going to be selecting. So with the first overall pick, it will be the same from my last mock draft. I will have the Richmond Football Club selecting Sam Lawler. Again, this is pretty much an absolute given at this point. I have talked about it on the channel, discussed the rumors and reports and leaks and whatnot that do say that Richmond are widely expected to take him with the first overall pick. So it doesn't really change up that much. But now, of course, we get into the different stuff now with the Richmond Football Club having the second overall pick in this draft. And I do think they're going to put a bid on who I think is arguably the best player in this draft, and that is Levi Ashcroft. This would obviously get matched by the Brisbane Lions. Again, this guy is absolutely insane. 179 centimeter inside midfielder, is extremely fast, a great kick, like one of the best disposal users in this whole entire draft crop, who I think it's literally disgusting that Brisbane get to now add the best young player pretty much in this draft to a team that already has one of the best young players in his league, who will probably be a near future Brownlow medalist in his brother, Will Ashcroft. Again, watching these two guys dominate for the next couple years is going to be... It's going to be tough to watch as an AFL fan, because I wouldn't be surprised if Brisbane just go on a dynasty with this. But again, I think Richmond, they know he's like the best available. So they will put in a bid and will force, I think, Brisbane to go and match this player. Again, with the third overall pick now, we've got the Richmond Football Club yet again, because obviously they moved down. And I think with a lot of discussion on who they're going to take at 3, is it going to be Jagger Smith? Is it going to be Finn O'Sullivan? Could it be a Josh Smiley or a Harvey Langford? I actually have them taking Finn O'Sullivan to this team. Again, I think there's a lot of reasons why Finn O'Sullivan should be taken with this pick to the Tigers, and why I think Richmond would originally do this trade. First of all, again, a lot of people think Finn O'Sullivan is the best player in the draft. Is there an argument to be made for this? 100%. Again, is Finn O'Sullivan the biggest disposal winner in this draft class? No, he's not. Does Finn O'Sullivan have about 888 different injuries all the time in this most recent year? Yes, he does. But if you look past both of those things, he is arguably the most athletic player in this draft, the most agile player in this draft, who has a disgustingly good disposal on him. Again, when he played for Richmond's VFL and played, I think, 2 games for them, his disposal, I think he only got about 15 each game. Nothing too special to write about, but when he got the ball, he absolutely made the most of it, doing what Richmond really don't have right now, I think, in their midfield, and that's clean disposal users. Again, Taranto and Hopper botch the ball more than nearly anyone. Prestia is about 38 years old with no hamstrings, so again, a benefit of the doubt to him. But Richmond needs some good disposal users in there, and not only can Finn O'Sullivan do that, but he also hit the scoreboard in both of his VFL games. So I think this is a great pick by Richmond, and really the reason they would trade up to get this. They get him and Sam Lawler in there, who just add so much poise and so much better decision making, I think, to that midfield, which desperately needs it. Now, with the 4th overall pick, we have the Carlton Football Club, and this is one of the teams that is really affected by this trade, because in my previous one, they had Finn O'Sullivan, and I believe one of the reasons they traded up to get this pick was because they wanted to take Foz to their team. But again, one other player from all the reports that they have been extremely high on does actually happen to be Sid Draper from South Australia, the player who I think could almost be considered to be as most ready for the AFL. Again, he played against full-grown competition in the SANFL for the whole entire season. He's not a small midfielder either. He's over 180 centimeters tall. Really, really good decision maker who can get a lot of the ball. Again, unlike Finn O'Sullivan and Sam Lawler, who I've previously mentioned, he's not the biggest goal kicker. Like, you're not going to be, I think, relying on him to kick the goals. But he does add something that Carlton midfield desperately needs and has been often called one-dimensional with too many tools and too many slow players. He adds a lot of good ball use that they need, a lot of good speed that they need, and just a different dynamic to their midfield. And as I said, he's probably the most ready in this draft, I think, for a lot of the midfielders other than maybe Jagger Smith. So considering Carlton, I think, are really, really looking for that, and they're trying to make the 4 next year, and they're trying to win a premiership, they can instantly add that guy in Sid Draper from South Australia. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Now with the 5th overall pick, again, similar to Carlton, who lost their man, Adelaide now lose their guy in Sid Draper. And I do think they're going to take best available here, and just the man who I think is definitely the best ball getter in this whole entire draft, and that does happen to be Jagger Smith. Again, the guy who I would most compare to Zach Butters in this draft, and a little bit of Nick Dacos as well. When we saw Jagger Smith play for Richmond's VFL team, this man just absolutely collected disposals like I collect Kentucky Fried Chicken and Pokemon cards back in the day. He just would and could not be stopped for the Tigers. Again, I think the knock on Jagger Smith's game is how he uses his disposal. Sometimes his disposal isn't necessarily that great, and from all reports, he didn't exactly do that great at the combine, and apparently he can't kick over 40 meters. But even though all of those things sound really bad, I wouldn't be looking too much into it, because I think there are a lot of players who can't kick over 40 meters. And when they get into the AFL system and they put on a ton of weight and strength into their legs, it goes up straight away and they start kicking 45 to 50 meters with ease. So I think Jagger Smith will be like that massive disposal winner who desperately can come and help this Adelaide midfield that just so needs it. And as well, I mean, you pick him before Richmond do. So Richmond, we know, really want him. You pick him before they do. Just a bit of revenge for that 2017 grand final that kind of ruined your team for like 8 years. So I guess Adelaide get one up on the Tigers there. Now with this 6th overall pick, we got the Melbourne Football Club, who I think originally had them taking Jagger Smith. All these teams keep getting screwed now because of this trade, but I've got them taking now Murphy Reid, who has jumped up a couple of spots in my draft now. But I think the Melbourne Football Club could really use him. I think part of this draft is them really using a midfielder who knows how to use the ball and also has a lot of outside run. They've got those big inside midfield guys in Jack Viney, Clayton Oliver, and Christian Petrarca, but you can tell they're trying to add some ball use and outside run in previous years by, adding Lockie Hunter, who they of course added. They have kept Charlie Spargo a bit. He's played a bit more inside midfielder as the years have gone on, not really clicked as much. They've drafted midfielders in recent years too to try and add some of that outside run. And I think Murphy Reid is a guy who can play wing, he can play forward. He will eventually develop into an inside midfielder in the AFL. He mainly played inside midfield for Sandringham, I believe, but I'm not sure if that's where his AFL journey will start. I think he is such a good runner, so the teams might move him out there for a bit. And a team like Melbourne, who already have that really well-established midfield and are just looking for ball users now and maybe another wingman, I think Murphy Reid can maybe slot into that, and he can also go down forward. So that's a great pick, I think, for them. We also got North Melbourne now at pick 7. They, of course, are the team that made this trade. And the reason I think they made this trade was to get a guy like Alex Taru now, who was pretty much the best defender in this draft class. Originally started as a halfback before he grew up to about 192 centimeters tall. Now plays as like a halfback, hybrid type of 3rd, 4th tall like a Charlie Ballard, Nathan Broad kind of role. Big disposal getter while being able to defend the taller and smaller opponent. He also, from what I know, did have a tiny stint where he actually moved up forward in one of the games, as my mate, who's a defender for Stingrays, actually had to play on him, which was an interesting thing. And he said he's a gun and really good up forward too. So I think North Melbourne, who desperately need to add some backmen, tall backmen especially, and even tall forwards, they get a guy who can do both, but I think will solidify himself in the AFL as a tall defender to help out this much needed, I think, North Melbourne backline. So I think that's why they do this trade. They get now, obviously, pick number 7 in this draft. They'll also have, I think, pick number 11 as well, or pick number 12, sorry, and they will probably look to take a Luke Trainer there, a key defender, which we'll talk about later on. But obviously now, with the 8th overall pick, I do have the St Kilda Football Club selecting Harvey Langford. Has really fallen down in my mock draft. I had him at like 3 in the previous one, but none of the teams really need a guy like Harvey Langford, I don't think, other than maybe Richmond, who have now traded away this pick to move up higher. So Harvey Langford gets to St Kilda, a team who is desperately looking for inside midfielders, and whether that's height, strength, speed, whatever it might be, they're kind of looking for it all because they really don't have anything. Like, they turned Paddy Dow into a plug-and-play kind of guy this year because they didn't have anything there. You really do have, fucking Jack Steele. I forgot his name. Excuse my language. I was about to say Jack Battle, and I realized that player does not exist. That is Josh Battle. But they have Jack Steele in that midfield. Has played, obviously, Liam Henry in there a bit for speed. Jack Higgins a bit in there as well. Paddy Dow. Brad Crouch was originally in there but got hurt. Seb Ross was originally in there, but again, they moved on from him. They're really changing this midfield, and I definitely feel like they're going to take 2 midfielders with this pick. And I think they're going to go for some big players and some strength because they got the speed there in Henry and Higgins, who plays in there a bit as well. Philippo's moved in there a tiny bit, not too much. Wilson on the wing too. They've got the speed everywhere. They just need some height and some big players. I think, again, Harvey Langford, 190 centimeter inside midfielder who can definitely go play forward as well as a high half forward, tall. So good clearance play, good disposal winner. It also makes sense, I think, for them at pick number 9 to select Josh Smiley, the 194 centimeter inside midfielder who is compared to Patrick Cripps, and some people believe is the best player in this draft. It shows you how deep this draft is, that you got a guy who some people believe is the best literally going down to pick 9. It's just, it's legitimately crazy to think, but I think you completely revolutionize this St Kilda midfield if you get both of those guys in to help, Jack Steele in that midfield to really put them along with the speed that they do have. And you start to look at something really, really interesting in there now of Jack Steele, Harvey Langford, Josh Smiley, obviously Jack Higgins, who will plug and play there. Matisse Philippo might play a bit more in there next season. We know as well, since St Kilda have really gotten a lot of good halfbacks in recent years, Jack Sinclair has moved into that inside midfield too. You've also got Liam Henry in there. Darcy Wilson is also in there. Oh my God. It's looking like one of the best young midfields in the game. And I think over in a year or two, could be really underrated to help move this St Kilda team up and really do some good things. So I really like that for the Saints and for Saints fans. With the 10th overall pick now, we've got the Melbourne Football Club, and I've got them selecting Harry Armstrong, who I believe is ranked as the best key forward, in this whole entire draft. 195 centimeters, extremely good, versatile, athletic guy who I believe averaged over 3 goals per game. Could really help this Melbourne team, who I think needs a key forward to help Van Rooyen and whoever else they've got going down there these days. But they definitely need to add some tools here and there to that, to this team. And with them having a midfielder on one of the earlier picks, I think they will go Harry Armstrong here. You get a key forward in, and you have him with Van Rooyen, and these two could be your key forwards for the next 10 to 15 years if everything goes right. So I think Melbourne will be putting a lot of the development into them and really trusting their process and coaching to help these guys eventually do something really, really good. But of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for latest AFL content, AFL news, all of the above. Don't forget to comment your thoughts and opinions on this all down below. I'd very much like to hear. Subscribe to my gaming channel and my IRL/vlogging channels as well, which will be getting all linked in the description down below. But as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.